And like I mentioned earlier on, the DPP said something very important, said due to the international nature of this particular case, he is involving the governments of the UK and the government of Italy in terms of trying to look into ways on how to proceed with this investigation. What then does this mean in terms of playing out in this investigation?
Very interesting, because the first thing that you have to notice, CMC de Ravenna is an Italian company. The interesting thing about this company is that at the time it was being awarded this contract, it was this firm, KVDA, and all these stakeholders, all these people involved were aware that this firm was running bankrupt. It was not able to undertake this project, but they worked according to the DPP together, and they conspired to ensure that CMC de Ravenna got this contract. So the other question is, the DPP has been traveling around the world looking for what? That's the question. Mutual legal assistance is the answer, because when finally they get these people and they prosecute them and they find them guilty, they'll need to recover their assets. So what do is you ensure that you close all these loopholes, that every money that they have, they cannot take it out of the country. And even if they've already taken it out of the country, then they're able to get it back. So that's why you would see him going to Italy, going to the UK. He was in Dubai the other week just to seal all those loopholes, because when you're going to prosecute someone who has allegedly stolen or taken public funds, they're so clever as to find ways of hiding it. So what do? They make sure they put it in a place that you cannot access it. You prosecute them here, but the money is safe. So what the DPP has been doing with this is to ensure that all these loopholes are sealed. If this money is going to be in any of those countries that have been traveling, because they have intelligence that these are the countries that this money went to, so they ensure that they seal all these loopholes, that they can bring the money back, because the ultimate aim of this process is to get back public funds that have been lost. So it's not necessary to prosecute if at the far end or the tail end of the process you don't recover the money. So Zainab, that's essentially the value of these visits to these countries and seeking mutual legal assistance. Even the FBI in these investigations, the UK has extended its services of prosecutor and investigator to this country to ensure that at the end of it they get justice and Kenyans get their money back. So that's the value. So going forward, the most interesting thing to see in all this is what's going to happen. They're going to step aside. The laws that establish public service says that when you are charged, you have to step aside and create space and allow for investigations, because if you can be allowed to go back to your office, interfere with the witnesses, shred such documents, and talk to the people who are subordinate or who are under you to help you conceal evidence, it's unnecessary. So they ensure that all these loopholes are sealed and include getting you out of the system for the time being. And remember, this is a process. At the end of it, if you're not found guilty, perhaps in your own accord, you can decide to get back your job. It never happens. But yes, at the tail end, all Kenyan wants is this money went out, this is borrowed money, we have gotten it, we've traced it where it was, and it's back in the country, Zainab. So very interesting days ahead, looking at this arrest. And if you look at that complete list, 28 individuals, you look at them and you're thinking, really, is this going to turn political? Also, very good questions that also we need to ask going forward in the coming days. But most important, Zainab, Treasury is vacant.
All right, Ken, and we'll be getting more details. Of course, as you mentioned, is the fact that the DPP, Nurdin Haji, had stated that the CS and the PS will have to step down from their positions. But that hasn't really ever happened before, looking back at the history of our country, really.
Yes, exactly. But let me take you back a few weeks ago when the president said, when you are mentioned, you just have to step aside. I mean, even your own morals can't allow you to sit back in that office. It's never seen, but it's time things changed, and that really happened, because you have been charged, you have taken plea, you're a public service. I mean, there's nothing left for you. The only reason this has never happened, Zainab, is this. Most of these people who have been charged are elected officials, governors, right? Members of parliament, you look at MCAs and such. They are elected officials. Now, we are talking here of appointed officials. by the president. I mean, this mandate is given to you through the prerogative of the president. So he's one of his constitutional functions. So he can take it back. And remember, it's exercised on behalf of the people in Article 1. So it's very important to note all that when arguing about should they step aside or not, is the fact that they are public officials and they're appointed, not elected. So it's never happened because most of these people who've been tried, look at the governors, they are elected. But now we have public officials who are working on our behalf. So they have to step aside. There is no two ways about it. I think it's a moral thing to do. And I take you back to 2014, if I'm not wrong, the list that had over 120 names that was presented in Parliament by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The likes of the Kitui Governor now, Charity Ngilu, were on that list. And they had to step aside. Look at Governor for Kirinyaga, Anne Waiguru. When the kitchen became too hot, she had to step aside. So most appointed officials have no option but to step aside. Now the question, Zainab, is what happens to Treasury? Who now signs? Because the government cannot stop functioning. Who was the third in command? Is it the CAS who's now in charge? And probably we're likely to see State House later today or before the end of the day, before the end of the week, because this is a vital service of the government, will come up and put someone in acting capacity, a minister who is a CS who is currently serving, put them in acting capacity so that the functions of the Treasury can still go on. We saw that in lands, we saw that in health, so it's likely to happen also in the Treasury as the President prepares to get another round of nominees to present to Parliament for voting. Alternatively, he could just look around the cabinet right now of about 20 remaining and just assign someone there, then a vacant position. And remember, by the way, interestingly, this just came to my mind, Zainab, there is a cabinet secretary without portfolio, Rafael Tuju. I mean, this is his work. You have no portfolio, you can fill in when there is no one. So perhaps this is one of the functions of a cabinet secretary without portfolio. So you might just find the president filling in that position using a cabinet secretary who is already there but without an assignment to fill that gap as the way to fill it with a substantive cabinet secretary. So that's likely to happen. But there's a vital question going forward, and in our bulletins we'll have to really tell Kenyans what exactly means for Treasury, government functions, and what does that also mean for the two individuals, Kamau Thuge and Henry Rotich. And aside from that, the other 26 individuals from KVDA and the two from NEMA.